Welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk at RSA. Terry Sweeney here with Dark Reading, and joining me now is Dr. Chris Pierson, founder and CEO of BlackCloak. Chris, thanks for joining us on the Dark Reading News Desk today.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
We are talking about keeping digital executives safe, both personally and professionally, which is a pretty timely topic. Let's start, just if you could fill us in with your sense of what the threat landscape looks like right now for corporate executives, the unique vulnerabilities that CISOs should know about protecting them when it comes to really protecting executives in their personal lives when business and personal stuff is so intertwined.
It is. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we all get what CISOs do on the inside four walls of the company. They're protecting the users, the systems, emails, servers. But it's those other 12 hours of the day with a really, really sensitive population, board members, the C-suite, executive leadership team, senior leaders. Those individuals, right, they are targets 24 hours a day. They're targets in their personal lives. And when I say they, it's not just them, right? It's also their family members.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the greatest way to speed up a ransom payment is to go ahead and extort the significant other, right? Go ahead and speed things up there. We had that happen in terms of Dragos, right? Targeting of the spouse of Rob Lee in terms of speeding things up. So when you take a look at what cybercriminals are doing, they're not just paying attention to where we built these big castle walls. They're focusing their attention on the summer cottage. The king and queen go there.
Sure.
And so they're focused on things that are outside the four walls of the company, where the controls do not exist. And so we know and we see that. We actually, you know, we always say the home is the new battleground. It is. It is actually a path of least resistance, and it's also a path back into the corporate breach. It's a path to go ahead and commit reputational damage, financial loss, whole sorts of risks there that the CISO is going to end up getting the phone call on.
Sure, but the fidelity of these deep fakes is pretty convincing and pretty compelling on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, really since January of 2023, we've seen a lot more happen in the deep fake world, whether it be voice or video. We've seen a lot more attacks targeting, once again, targeting key executives. And so that's something that can be controlled a little more on the inside of the company. But the fact of the matter is, in terms of their public persona, in terms of social media, and in terms of influencing others that are outside the company, it's something that there are no real controls around. So it's one of those risks. You know, as we look at a converged risk of both what is happening on the inside of the company, outside, and how do you influence each other, that's something that BlackCloak really focuses on. How do we stop the harm on the outside of the company from becoming a breach, a financial risk, a reputational risk back on the inside? Okay,
so you've convinced me that the high-value individuals have targets on their backs, virtually or electronically at least. Talk about some of the key components of a holistic digital protection program. What does that look like?
Yeah, so when you think about this and you think about those other 12 hours a day, the first thing you have to do is go ahead and whittle down, kind of shrink the attack surface, right? And not just the executive, but right, their family members too. So, you know, it involves privacy protection. How do you actually mitigate and shrink in their phone number being out there, their personal email being out there, where their home location is, you know, whether it be protests, whether it be scams or fraud attacks, you have to start there. Deep web, dark web information on their personal lives, personal accounts, you know, can come back to haunt the company directly. So privacy is a fundamental underpinning. Second, their personal device protection. No one wants to go ahead and go home on the weekends and become a cybersecurity czar for themselves. Those executives need protection, need support. Third, the home. You know, I said the home's the new battleground, but like post-COVID, it really has been. You went from 100 person or 100 corporate locations or 10 corporate locations to 10,000 corporate locations overnight. The home and the home networks is something that can be penetrated. And once you penetrate that, it allows access to every single device that's on there. So that whole home network has to be protected. And then finally, the concierge. You can't go ahead and protect executives, board members, ELT team. You can't protect them without the service behind the scenes to actually make sure that they're highest level protection. And when they have questions, you come to answer them.
So talk a bit about how these strategies integrate with broader corporate security policies that ensure that personal and organization data are secured. How do those two pieces fit together? Or are there more than two pieces?
Yeah, it's actually really nice is that almost all companies have some type of an executive protection, you know, approach, right? It might be the CSO leading it, the CISO leading it. They're basically saying, how do we protect them physically, or kidnap and ransom, or medical rescue? Those are types of things that they think about. Well, digital executive protection fits nicely within that. It's only focused there on the digital side. So there's this convergence that's occurring now between CISOs and CSOs in terms of, hey, we need to extend out and look towards that physical security aspect. We need to extend out the protection that we offer into their personal lives. But just like the CSOs have done, we're not going to do it ourselves, right? We're not posting our own folks at their homes. We're not going ahead and protecting them through our armed technologies and all the rest. We want to make sure, because of privacy and legal reasons, they get what they need in terms of protection, but that we, the company, aren't getting in that information.
Okay. So take a deeper cut at this link between the personal digital security of a corporate leader and the overall risk posture of their organization. I think I get the connection, but just curious how you see the significance, this impact of personal breaches on corporate security.
Well, it's a good one to raise, right? 2 years ago, LastPass gets breached. They actually didn't get breached on the corporate side. One of the key 4 engineers was breached on their home computer. Malware, keyboard logger downloaded, they stole the session cookie, and then, right, the cybercriminals were able to exfiltrate the encrypted password vaults. They actually didn't set foot on the inside of the company through the normal defenses. They went around them into a personal computer. So you have directly, LinkedIn, it was 12 years ago, in 2012, same thing, an engineer's home was targeted and they got in that way. So you have these patterns in the past, and now still happening to this day, of their computers and their devices being compromised to go ahead and hack back into the company. We've seen that. We've also seen, right, financial loss. We've also seen extortion and ransom. I mean, never ever, right here at RSA, never ever has any corporate executive ever emailed a corporate document or board deck or whatever to their personal email address. A personal email address, yeah, I know, we laugh, right? Sure. But a personal email address without dual factor authentication on it, that's using the same password that's been exposed on deep web, dark web, where there might be cyber criminals on, right? We're actually taking down those corporate controls with data that is really meaningful. So it could be intellectual property, that causes reputational damage into the company, financial issues, and then of course just the straight hack into the company.
Well, and now they get to report all these breaches to the SEC on top of it.
Well, I mean, we just did a speech on materiality, just an entire speech in that one word. What is material? And the fact of the matter is that does something that was like in Uber, Zendesk, Twilio 2 years ago, where they targeted the personal cell phone numbers of employees. Is that something that's material? Well, it caused a breach. That's something that is in contention for materiality. Same thing in terms of LastPass. Same thing in terms of, does what happens in the other 12 hours of the day impact the company? When you have, just think about health for a second. So when you have a company and you have a CEO to say, hey, I've had a heart attack and all the rest, there's a material disclosure into the board as a result of their personal hygiene, their personal health, because it could impact the company, and shareholders need to know. Let's talk about personal cyber hygiene or cyber health, right? If there is a breach, if there's an extortion, if there's something happening externally, it could be a material impact, could have material impact on the inside. So what you want to do is, of course, stop that so you don't have to and protect against it.
Give us a little bit of hope here. Talk about some methodologies or technologies that you think will play a pivotal role in either threatening or enhancing the digital security of executives.
Yeah, I mean, so we see these attack patterns being used, all the time by cyber criminals and nation states. What's great is that you can harness some of those same tools, especially with artificial intelligence, especially with machine learning. You can actually bolt those into, tried and true threat intelligence programs to actually enhance the data more, to try to find other ways that you could attack and by that very nature defend. Knowing how somebody will think about that in the adversarial context gives you much more ability to defend against it proactively. So we're really, really excited about that and using a lot of that. And it's just super exciting. Second, in the area of deep fakes and all the rest, once again, there's a lot here that can actually be done proactively, prospectively in terms of preparing people. We call it hardening the human. A lot of good education, but also some technology and controls that can be put in place. And then overarching, look, there's a lot of controls that can be adequately deployed in the personal life that just make it a harder attack surface. Not about being perfect. It's like the cars that everyone has that are parked somewhere at home for RSA Conference. It's like, look, you got the windows rolled up, you got the computer in the back, in the trunk, not in the front seat, and you make sure your little your alarm and red blinky light are on. They're probably going to get passed over. Building those types of programs and threat assessment programs and putting into action It's going to be really, really critical and super exciting stuff.
Are we tiptoeing up to offense as defense? Is that in the wings here?
I mean, so, there's a line, we always call it active defense. And so it's something that we really, really practice. You don't want to talk about theoreticals with a board in terms of, well, this could happen, or an executive leadership team. What you want to actually show is that, look, we're actually playing active defense. We're going out there with the same methodology, same mentality, but what we can actually do is solve it. Right? You don't want to give someone just a list of things to do themselves or a list of risks. You got to go mitigate it. You got to go solve it.
All right. Well, so much for my spy versus spy scenarios. Chris Pierson of BlackCloak, thanks for joining us on the news desk today.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you.
We've been talking with Chris Pierson of BlackCloak. This has been Terry Sweeney for the Dark Reading News Desk. Thanks for joining us for this segment. We'll see you next time.